All of your signs and symptoms tell you a story about what is happening inside your body. And as someone with a female body, you get this special extra report card every single month, which is your period. There's a ton of information that you can get from that. So by far, the most common period issue that I see with my clients is brown bleeding at the very beginning of their period. And a lot of them, when we're talking about this issue, they know that they have a clear feeling that something is wrong, right? That's not what they want to be seeing. But they've been experiencing this issue or issues with their period for so long, they almost don't believe that anything can be fixed. Comment below if you have ever felt that way. You've been dealing with something for so long. Even though people are giving recommendations and ideas and you're seeing even success stories from other people, there's a part of you that almost doesn't really believe that you can actually get those same results, that you can actually be fixed. Super, super common concern that I see with my clients. So before we jump into the nitty gritty of what to really do about this, here is what I want you to know. It doesn't matter if you have been seeing brown bleeding for 6 weeks or 6 years, you absolutely can have a normal period. There is a reason for everything that you're experiencing. And if we figure out the reason, we can make the right changes and give your body the chance to heal. Really is possible. Okay. So seeing brown blood at the very beginning of your period is really a sign of low progesterone. If your progesterone is too low, your body doesn't quite get the signals to fully shed the uterine lining in the way that it's supposed to. So what this means for you is that you hold on to just a little bit of tissue. It might not be a lot, but there's a little bit that doesn't get removed when it's supposed to. And so during the next month, it oxidizes. It's exposed to air, right? And so at the beginning of your next period, it shows up as brown blood. And for some women, this is just like a little bit of brown spotting before their cycle. For some women, there's a couple of days of full on bleeding that is brown. So if you're seeing this brown blood, you're probably also having really long cycles. You might not be ovulating at all, or you might be ovulating just irregularly, like some months you do, some months you don't. You might be struggling with some fertility issues. You might be struggling with PCOS. So what we want to do in this scenario is we want to support progesterone production so that you have this really big peak of progesterone at the end of your cycle that triggers this cascade of events that's supposed to, fully release everything. We want to support the uterus so that it can shed everything fully every month. And we want to get rid of anything that is standing in the way of those two things, right? If there's any roadblocks, we want to get rid of those. So to support progesterone production, the first thing that we need to do is actually find out what exactly is happening with your ovulation. So this means we need to teach you how to track your fertile signs in addition to tracking your period. So most women, when I start working with them, I say, "Are you tracking your cycles?" They say, "Oh yeah, I've been tracking for years." And this was me too. But all we're actually doing is tracking the dates of our period from one period to the next. And that's kind of all that we're doing. And so we're missing this whole big event in the middle of our cycle, which is ovulation. That is actually the whole purpose of having a cycle in the first place. And most period trackers don't ask you for the information that you would need in order to know whether or not that's happening. So progesterone production relies on regular ovulation. So charting your cycles is going to tell us, is this happening? How often? And it's going to give us an idea of how much work we have to do to stabilize your hormones. So that's the first thing, is figuring out what's actually going on. Progesterone production also relies on calming your stress response. We hear a lot about stress when we're talking about hormones, but there is a physiological reason for that. So progesterone is made from the same raw materials as cortisol. And cortisol is your stress hormone. If you were in fight or flight, if your blood sugar is unstable, your body produces cortisol. And if this is going on, this is a survival mechanism. Like, your body has to regulate blood sugar. It has to deal with stress because it doesn't understand what the stress is. Like, it doesn't understand if you're, running out of the middle of the road because a car is coming or if your boss is yelling at you. Like, your brain doesn't actually understand the difference. It just understands stress. So if this is going on, your body will prioritize the production of cortisol over the production of progesterone. And so your progesterone production will actually decrease. So we need to deal with that. Progesterone production also relies on nutrients, right? Like, your body is producing something, it needs the raw materials. And in particular, we need healthy fats. So you actually need a fairly good dose of cholesterol to make healthy steroid hormones. You need some good anti-inflammatory fats, your omega-3s, your really healthy seafoods. You also need lutein, and I'll explain why. So progesterone is produced by a tiny gland that develops inside your ovaries after ovulation. The gland is called a corpus luteum, and the name is Latin for yellow body because it's just a little yellow gland. The reason that it's yellow is because it's made out of lutein cells. So lutein is a carotenoid that is responsible for making fruits and vegetables yellow. Same thing in your body. It produces this yellow gland. And so lutein is found in the fruits and veggies that are yellow. It's also found in fruits and veggies that are green. Green is it's produced from a bunch of different colors, right? Like, if you mix yellow and blue, you get green. And so these really deep leafy green veggies actually have some of the highest concentrations of lutein. So giving your body just that straight up raw material to produce a healthy corpus luteum is going to set you up to be able to produce enough progesterone to help balance your cycles. So the second thing we want to do after we've supported progesterone production is we want to support the uterus so that it can fully shed its lining every single month. The real cause of brown bleeding is this buildup of old residue that has oxidized. So we want to make sure that you are actually getting a clean slate every single month. So there's a few ways that you can do that, but the best way to support a healthy uterus and support that cleansing is through vaginal steaming. So if you've never heard of that before, the concept is really very simple. If you've ever had the flu and you've done the thing where you boil a pot of water and stand over it with a towel over your head and breathe in the steam to clear your sinuses, this is what we're doing with vaginal steaming for your uterus. We're helping to clear everything out. So you can do that on its own. You can also incorporate some herbal blends to add in this element of herbal medicine to give your body even more support on top of that. So these are just some really simple ideas to get you started. And what I do with my clients is help you learn how to interpret all of these signs that your body is giving you. The brown bleeding, it's a sign. It's an end result of a process. And by looking at the end result, we can interpret what has been happening in the process. What are your hormones actually doing? All of the signs and symptoms that we're experiencing, headaches, bloating, acne, irregular periods, all of that are ways that your body is trying to communicate where it needs support. And so nutritional therapy really at its core is about learning to interpret that language of communication that your body is using so that you can look at yourself, your body, your whole life, and see the whole picture so that you can make better decisions about how to really care for yourself. When we're talking about fertility and hormone balance, we have to be looking at the entire picture of what's happening because issues with hormones do not happen in a vacuum. right? There is no scenario where everything else in the body is perfect, but for some reason just your hormones are messed up. We need to be looking at the entire picture, and that's really what nutritional therapy is all about. So if you want to find out if nutritional therapy is a good fit for you, you can do a call with me and we can talk about what you've tried in the past, what's going on for you, and see if this is a good fit.